If there's anything more meager and vile than the mask I'm wearing in this video, it's the Instagram scams that we're gonna talk about today. Among the different scams which slither on Instagram, the one which you're most likely to come across is this one. I have tons of hacked IDs sending me messages saying it took them a couple of hours to make something for me and sending me this link right after. Now this link never really worked for me, but I did come across this post. From what we can see, this link should forward us to an iPhone giveaway. One of the commenters even confirms it. Well, guess what? I managed to speak to one of the victims and here's what she said. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I'm still not recommending anyone to follow the link. At least not with a genuine account. One thing I would like to add here is that I did pick up one of these calls. I'm not exactly sure how Instagram calls work. When I picked up the call, my camera switched on, but I obviously didn't show my face. From my end, I could only see their enlarged PFP and blurred background, and the call ended in less than 5 seconds. But it's safe to say one should never pick up calls from random strangers online. At one point, I was getting these so often that I managed to interrupt the sequence of their messages. The sequence being first the iconic greeting, then a missed call or video call, but not necessarily, and then the iconic message with the link. So in one case, the moment I received the iconic greeting, "Hi, guess what I just got done doing?" I quickly typed "your pubes shaved" and sent it before I could receive the link. But then I realized we don't actually shave hair. We shave the skin on which the hair is present. So I unsent that message and typed "your pubes trimmed" because I really wanted to use the word pubes, which you can see on the screen right now. By then I started thinking maybe this was a genuine message and not a scam, but soon after I saw this. This all happened within 60 seconds, by the way. These text messages also look like this, just so you know. Now the next scam may have the consequences similar to the first scam I showed, or it may be different. Here, this person tells me some garbage and asks me to verify if it's me before they do their shit. Now this link they told me to use for verification is either capable of stealing personal details, login credentials, or they might ask you to download some apps like they asked me right here. These apps either contain virus or they have contract where they need to get certain amount of people to install specific apps so they get something in return from these developers. The third scam I've got for you today revolves around money. It's basically the "give me this much money and I'll give you more in return." It doesn't really make sense, right? Well, it should not. Take your time to read the screenshot. It will be more clear why it should not make any sense. Now the last scam I'll show you is phishing on Instagram. I would like to explain this one with an example so it would be more clear. There's this website called Free Game Lottery which also has an Instagram page with the same name. This page does giveaways of video games which are not available for free, and I can tell it's legitimate as I've won multiple giveaways myself here. His fan base often comes across pages like this and this. Notice their names have underscores in it. These two pages were quite successful in promoting their business like this, but their business can very easily be scams. Like they would post "do this to enter in this giveaway," and that process could steal information from the victim. Now obviously the man behind the original website and page keeps informing about these fake pages to his audience. But still, you dudes and dudettes should be careful for what you sign up for. For second and third scams I mentioned, they also upload proof of their legitimacy, which mainly consists of conversation between them and their clients without them showing any usernames. This may surprise you, but it's very easy to generate fake chats between any two individuals. Back in my school days, a boy made fake chats of me and a girl who somehow happened to be principal's daughter. Those chats got leaked and ended up with the principal himself. The moment my principal learned about those chats, he went out looking for me with his DSR-50. And the police had to be involved. It took a week for the situation to calm down and another for principal to realize he doesn't even have a daughter. So what I'm saying is, proofs have to be more than just text saying
Oh my god!
that worked. Now, these are no new scams on the internet. I came across this few years back, but the amount of people who are affected by this particular scam has rose exponentially. And there's no fucking information about this I could find on the internet except Quora. That's why I'm making this video. If you guys don't know about Quora, it's a place where Redditors go when they don't have their fill of arguing with strangers online. Someone did ask about this scam on Quora, and to my surprise, one person said it's 100% legitimate. But as of now, that page doesn't exist anymore. Other than that, I'm feeling 31 times less horny due to COVID vaccine, so I just sat down to record this video. If y'all dudes and dudettes find this video helpful, make sure to leave a like. And subscribe to TV Filthy Frank. I really want to see this channel get 10 million subscribers before YouTube deletes all of its videos. See ya.